And so call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is approval of minutes from last meeting. Does anybody have any additions or corrections?
I got some additions.
Okay.
This is on our new agenda.
Oh, for the new agenda?
Yeah, is that what you
No,
want
we're
or not?
just approval of the minutes from last time, if there are any changes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, if there are no changes, we'll just, the meetings are approved as submitted. Okay, now amendment and approval of the agenda. Stan, you had some changes?
Not changes, but additions.
Additions?
I'd
Okay.
like to at least hear discussed. Come on. Oh, new business. Item B on trailer tongues, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I'd like to see if there could be something, and maybe this is picky-uni, but I'd like to see something about trailer hitches, in other words, tail stingers, sticking out too far. I've seen some of them down here by the harbor sticking out so far that you almost got to go into the other lane to get around them on these big dually, long coupled pickups.
Okay, so can we add that to B? Because it seems like
B.
go in there. Okay.
And at the corner of the Wells Fargo parking lot where it adjuts to whether the Pilot or the drugstore owns it, there's a trench along in there. I'd like to either see that filled in and a culvert put in there, or a signpost put in there with some kind of a hazard, because if we get a winter of snow, and I've done it myself, if you try to cut that corner, you're going to go into that, I don't know, it isn't deep enough to be a ditch, but it's about like this, about like that. Wouldn't hurt to have a post there, a warning. Yeah, that'll do it, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else have any additions or corrections?
I think
Brian?
a little follow-up on the Wrangell Avenue with the, remember we talked about the posted sign on the 15 for school zone?
Okay. Wrangell Avenue going to 15?
Right. Just into the school zone
Right.
out, a little bit farther there.
Want that under unfinished business?
Would that be better than new business, Brian, or does it make
I'm
a
not sure where that
difference?
would come, John.
Well, let's just throw it under
We
new
talked about it in the
business.
last meeting, and,
Yeah.
and Chief Kerr said that was coming back, and he was going to give a cost estimate to the
Yeah,
city manager, I think it was.
Yeah, I don't have the cost estimate for it.
yeah. Okay, let's just put it under new business. We'll,
Okay.
You'll extend school zone. Okay. Okay. Can we go with the agenda approved as amended? Okay, well, that's accepted then. Okay, visitors' reviews unrelated to the agenda. Any visitors' views unrelated? No? Visitors' views related to the agenda? Yes, we have a massive number of people for that one. Could you say who you are and who you represent?
Yep. I'm Richard Burke. I represent myself. I live at the corner of 3rd and Excel. I'm here to talk about new business number B, long-term street parking with boats, trucks, and trailer tongues.
Okay.
I printed off the existing code. Currently, if it's not signed as no parking, you're allowed to park up to 24 hours. I had a run-in with a police officer this spring about this very issue. I was doing some work on my place, and I parked my boat out on the street for a couple of days, and had some conflicts with the parents picking up their kids from the dance hall across the street from me, calling the police on me for parking my boat on the street next to my house. The code reads, I don't know if you want me to read it to you.
Sure.
It It's 11.56.050, parking more than 24 hours. A vehicle may not remain parked or standing within one location or parking space in excess of 24 hours upon any bridge, viaduct, causeway, street, highway, or other public area within the city, and no such sign giving notice thereof is necessary for this regulation to be effective. I think that the language of this maybe should be firmed up a little bit. It doesn't talk about what constitutes moving a vehicle. It also doesn't talk about how the vehicle really should be in some sort of good working order, no flat tires, etc. I kind of thought of an idea, maybe money-making idea for the borough. You could sell permits to park a little longer in certain areas, but still the vehicles have to be in good working order, no flat tires, they must be registered and such, and cannot impede snow removal. I don't know what a fair price is for that, but it might be kind of nice for some homeowners that when you want to park for more than the 24 hours, you don't have to keep moving your stuff.
So are you talking more like boat parking along the roadway where there's going to be like 2 or 3 days or?
Yeah, maybe a 48-hour permit where you just place it. Well, and it's an idea that maybe the Public Safety Advisory Committee could firm up more, but maybe a 48-hour permit or something that exempts you from the 24-hour rule when you start to have issues.
May I ask a question? Chief, how often do you guys have to write tickets or anything for this issue?
Don't know of any tickets that I've written recently. I know most times we just ask people to move their vehicle and they move it. It's been the norm for a long time. And if it's nothing that's really, we normally don't enforce it unless it becomes an issue and people start calling about it. That's the only time. Unless something like he says it does have flat tires and stuff, or unless it's not properly registered, then we'll take enforcement action on it. But most of the time it has to be from a complaint.
So what do you think of the idea of buying a permit for 48, 72 hours, or do you think that would be worthwhile, or what's your feeling on that?
I don't have an issue with it. I mean, that would be, unless you guys just propose that, most of the time when people go out, if they go out fishing or something like that, it's more than 24 hours. But if we extended it without a permit for 48, 2 days, that doesn't seem like that long a time. So if you guys proposed something like that and took it to the assembly, I don't see that being an issue without having to pay for a permit. 2 days on the street doesn't seem, to me, it's not a big deal. If it's not causing a public safety issue, if it's just like his boat parked out in front while he's doing construction, leaves it there for 48 hours and then moves it a little ways, then that would start another 48 hours.
Yeah, my thing was what constitutes moving it. It isn't defined in code from what I could find. So maybe...
So if like someone moves it a foot,
Yeah.
does that constitute moving?
Yeah, and
Right.
I'd hate to be trying to argue that in front of a judge if there was some definite, like it has to move 10 feet or something.
Whatever it is, so it has to move, if it's a boat, it has to move a boat length, if it's a car, it has to move a car length.
Okay.
The issue is it's not defined, and I think it really should be.
Is there any other comments from the committee on thoughts on this?
I would like to make sure we don't make any decisions now on it. I don't think any of us know the code well enough to make an informed decision.
As I said,
You'd have to research it, and then you would have to get a proposal from you guys, and then I would take it to the assembly.
Okay, is this something we want to put on next meeting's agenda, and we can get copies to everybody?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For showing up.
Thanks, Richard.
thank you.
Sugar and a sifter.
Was the blue sky on that side?
Yeah.
Snow on that side?
I was out playing in the snow earlier today with my dogs.
Okay, moving to new business, neighborhood watch program. I talked to the chief about this and mentioned it a little bit at a previous meeting. What I've tried to do on this, yes, sir.
Did we go staff reports and unfinished business?
Do we have any?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I just went, thought that was unfinished business. Staff reports, I don't, do you have one, chief?
No, I don't have
No? Unfinished business, we really don't
School
have.
zone, has anything come of that at all?
I actually did not get a request on how much it would cost. Kind of spaced that, I guess. But, like I said, my stance is still the same about moving it down there. I'll have to get with Carl and find out how much it's gonna cost us to move it down to, I forget the name of, just down to the next street.
Just moving the signs?
Yeah, that's all it would do, is move the current sign down to the other location. And the exact spot would depend upon the power and accessibility for it. So,
Do we want to put that in the form of a motion to make it more official, or what's your
Well, can you
pleasure?
come up with information on it? Maybe by
By
next meeting?
Yeah.
Whenever that might be? And-
no, I can definitely get that.
Okay.
Okay,
And I'll get the best location from them on where to put it
Sure.
based on the power.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
okay. Well,
And
got
then,
2 items for next meeting. Yes, sir.
yeah, for the under unfinished business too, it looks like Mark Tassilo, who's no longer on the board, talked about contacting DOT about a guardrail up on top of Hagen Drive by the airport. John, did you follow up with that?
Yeah, I called, God, I'm really good at names, the local guy that said at DOT. Barry, yeah, and he said he would run it past Juneau, that he didn't think it would go anywhere because since there isn't any land there to put the
Protect.
right, and to move the guardrail, you'd have to move in quite a bit of fill and then put in the guardrail over that. He didn't think Juneau would go for it because of the expense, and he never got back to me.
I actually spoke to him just the other
Did you?
day.
Okay.
And I talked to him right after you did, and he told me you had spoke with them, and then I spoke with them 2 or 3 times since then. And the road design is not, it's already a 15-mile-an-hour corner, and 15 mile an hour is the suggested based on conditions. So, I mean, technically, if it's icy out, you shouldn't be going 15. You should be going slower just because it says that. So, and the road, like you said, he said the road design does not support having the guardrail because they would have to add in a whole bunch, and all that is riprap and everything else that's made up of, that corner's made up, so they can't do it without redesigning the entire roadway.
Which corner?
Up
The one by
airport.
where the airplanes are, the little planes?
Yes.
Yeah. So it didn't sound positive.
Nope.
Okay. I was just following up from things from last
Yeah,
meeting.
I know Mark had that concern, so.
Yeah, well, he went off the road there, yeah, and so it is, can be pretty sketchy,
I think his main concern was 4 people drove by him and nobody saw him.
yeah. Either that or they saw him, knew it was, and just kept going.
Well, what, excuse me,
No, go ahead.
what is the possibility, and I asked this question before a long time ago when Ted Sokol was the head of the airport and the highway department up there, about getting markers on the road coming up down at the other corner from Sandy Beach. And I know there's extra ones have been added up there, but where they need to be is on if a car is coming up from Sandy Beach in the dark these markers need to be on the same side of the road as the car just before you get to the corner, because that corner can sneak up on you.
You'll crash that way.
Huh?
When the visibility's like that, it's designed so that you're making the sign there, those turning signs let you know that that's the back side of that corner. So if you put them on the other side, you're gonna have elderly people driving off the other side because they don't see the road anyways. And if, so I mean, they'll turn because those signs are made, you turn, and if you hit those signs, you went too far. And so that's what, there's no way to put it before, that would be a big,
Well, that would be more of an alert, though, if it was put on the inside of the corner coming up the hill.
if there's people having issues seeing those signs on the other side, we probably need to have their license reevaluated, I would think.
Well, I've been places where that's the way they did it, but okay.
Okay. Any other comments in the committee? No? Okay. As mentioned on the Neighborhood Watch Program, I put in a $2,500 grant to see if we could buy the signs and maybe have monthly training meetings to get people involved in, making the areas more secure. And we should find out by mid-January if that got through. And it's basically just for the chief to do some training or other officers in a situation, the meeting place, and just have a lunch and talk about how we can best protect ourselves and make a formal referral process, if we're having problems.
Is there a specific neighborhood, or would you?
It would be up to whoever wanted to volunteer to be a neighborhood watch captain and go through the training. I put one up in front of my house, and the state and the city both said that as long as they're not on signs designating speed, we could, put them on the existing poles in neighborhoods. So that's still something that's, maybe next meeting we can get into. But I just wanted to let you know what I tried to get going on that.
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay.
I guess I don't know much about it, other than just what we've seen here. I don't think we talked about the last meeting, did we?
No, but, go on.
Sorry, is the Neighborhood Watch Program, isn't that a lot like the anonymous phone line for concerned citizens?
We can run into it, and that's why it would be nice to have training and decide if we want to put in an anonymous phone line. I did this in Fairbanks. We had a neighborhood where pretty much everyone worked, and it got hit, and several homes have been robbed. And we started a program, and within 30 days, we got the people that were doing the stealing, and never had a problem after that. So I've had a lot of good success with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good program. I've been around when we lived, out of Missoula area, and that, saw that. It just brought awareness out. People were just paying more attention. You see the sign, and they would, okay, it just kind of brought it awareness. I think the grant money can be used, like I say, for signage and training, but not only with our law enforcement officers, just our public citizens.
Yeah.
I mean, most of us are watching anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But, a formalized way of help discouraging
Right.
bad activity.
Do you need a motion to postpone this until the next meeting? We're all in favor of it. We're just waiting on the grant,
Yeah.
right?
And basically, just wanted to see if everybody's okay with it. I was going to wait till this meeting, but the grant had to be turned in before. Yeah.
How about we just do a status update at the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and the next thing we've already, Stan already kind of alluded to, is the long-term parking with boats, trucks, and the sticking out of trailer hitches and tongues. We had the one visitor talk about that it needs to be maybe spelled out better in the code. But Chief, what are you saying on this? I noticed like on Yeah, I walk around a lot because I'm too cheap to drive. But there are quite a few boats and cars like on South Nordic, as soon as you get out of town, they've been there for months, and some of them are disabled. Do you think we need to have, what would your,
Well, I'll have to look up
Solution
the
be-
exact wording for the code, and then I'll have to look up how he says it's not defined. I'll actually have to look into that to see. I would think that it's, by state law, they have to be registered and stuff, so, they can't be parked out there if they're not registered, or else we can tow them, because they're on the public right of way. I said I'll have to look and see exactly what it is. If I know we talked to the people down the street with one you're referencing that's broken down. So, if it's broken down, it's properly registered. As long as it doesn't run into the maximum time that we allow them to be parked on the roadway, then they're okay. But if they're beyond 24 hours, then if people complain about them, we'll normally go talk to the people and tell them to move it.
I know with the snow hitting now, and, we need to get the roads cleared.
Yep. The snow's completely different. We can actually, we talked with Barry yesterday, and I think it was yesterday, and he was gonna do it, just letting people know, hey, you can't be parked out there on the road between the certain hours that they're not allowed to be because of snow removal. And we'll actually give people warnings at first. Normally we'll wake them up early in the morning and tell them they have to move their vehicles. And then if it's going to be an issue, we'll actually start writing tickets. And if it gets down to it, we can try and get them towed if Petersburg Motors is willing to do it. If it's creating an issue like the one right down here that was parked down here for quite a while and kept getting snow piled around it. After a little bit, we just towed it. So, they can get tickets for being parked out there, and then for blocking snow removal and stuff. So that's a whole nother.
Would you object to us maybe looking more into this and trying to clarify this and putting time limits, or would that?
There is a time limit.
But if we went in, like the visitor said, and defined what movement meant, and,
moving is just moving the vehicle.
No, I understand, but he said it's not, the visitor was very confused and said that there's no actual spelling out in the code that says how much movement is actual movement.
Okay.
Do you have any objection to us doing that?
I don't
Would that
have
end
a
up
problem
creating
with it.
more, just more hassle and more work for you and your officers?
Well, if it moves a vehicle length, that's definitely noticeable. So, we could do something like that. But like I said, I'm going to look into what he was saying and actually dig in to see if it's more defined.
Yeah, because I think if it's spelled out better, because what people will do, if there's any inconsistency, they'll say, well, so-and-so's had their boat or truck on the road for 9 months and haven't moved it, and so why should I get a ticket?
That's what happens all the time.
Right, and I don't know, I think you just make it very consistent, so you don't get hassled for, doing something to one person and not the other.
Yeah. Yeah, normally, like I said, with the boats and stuff, we'll talk to the people, ask them to move it, and 9 times out of 10, they're compliant and move it. And then next time they go use it, it's back there.
Right.
And also, we don't really get that many issues with them.
Okay.
So,
I think it's hard in this town, especially downtown area where this might be a problem because there's such limited parking. If somebody has one car and one boat, someone's got to get parked on the street. And I think probably for the most part people do a pretty decent job making sure things are out of the way. I wouldn't want the PD to do more stress, create more stress for them and for the people trying to follow these rules than necessary by over defining some things.
I can look into it and see if it's actually defined or not. I'm sure it says in there someplace. So if it doesn't, then we can definitely look at that.
I'm not trying to create more work for you and you're looking everything up, but I would guess, isn't there a minimum requirement or maximum that a trailer hitch can stick out behind the bumper? I'm not being picky, Unix.
It's the maximum distance that something sticks out before it has to be flagged, and a trailer hitch, even if it's this long, is not going to qualify where it has to be flagged.
Well,
It's just-
the deal is, some of these people with these long coupled, some of them are dually four-wheel drive rigs, they're not real careful when they park down at the harbor, and sometimes you got to pull way out to get around them, or you're going to have a big divot on the side of your rig. And they conceivably could even back into somebody in a parking lot. Of course, that's probably not your concern, but, directly. But some of those people that have those big trucks are not very courteous. Now, whenever I use a stinger or a hitch, when I'm done using it, I pull it off and throw it back in the rig. I don't just put it in and leave it there forever till it gets rusted in. Some of them, I'm not kidding, they're sticking out that far.
Yeah,
And down along the bulkhead in the harbor there, you just about got to go over the line or wait for somebody to come by when some of those things are sticking out quite a ways.
I can tell you that we haven't got calls about that, at least at all this summer, or as long as I can remember.
Yeah, probably not.
About that.
But then you're probably not the guy that's banged your knees up on them before, not necessarily down at the harbor, but other places. Because they're pretty frustrating sometimes, and definitely not courteous. Like I say, I pull my hitches out when I'm done, and I throw them back to the rig. Okay. Whatever.
Okay, the next item is anonymous phone line for concerned citizens. People have approached various people on the committee and myself about wanting to call in suspicious behavior or crimes, but they're afraid that their name's going to be connected to it, and it might be a neighbor or someone that's going to come after them. What's your thought on that?
We don't even need to create a new phone line. If they just tell us that they want to remain anonymous, we won't put their information in. We'll just tell them it's anonymous.
Okay.
But the only thing that does is limit us to, if we do find something, we try and take some sort of action. If we don't have probable cause to take it further and we actually need that person's information, it's pretty much done at that point, because they wanted to remain anonymous. But we have no problem with people calling in to the police department. It happens all the time where they don't want to leave their name. So we just...
Would it be possible to put something like that on a PSA, or so people understand that they can be anonymous?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that, and I think it would go along great with the neighborhood watch program as that starts up. We'll just, as soon as we get that stuff going, just put that on there as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that one?
Seems like there was a Crime Stoppers number years ago.
Right, there
I
was.
wonder what the
Yeah.
stats were on any of that, or if it helped or made a difference. I don't think it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep getting bank statements from Crime Stoppers but everyone that's listed on that is long gone.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but we don't have that phone line anymore, I can guarantee that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I've never had any trouble calling in, and I've never, gotten any adverse comment from down at the dispatch office, because I've called, let's face it, I've been here longer than anybody in the room, and I've seen a lot of things, and I've called in to report people doing Brodies down in the harbor, people dumping their trash that drove into the harbor and dumped their trash. And I called to turn in fires on boats.
Yep.
I don't mind giving my name if I have to, if it's that important,
Yeah, and I mean, we don't tell the people that say we do arrest someone, we don't tell them. They always ask who called them, we don't tell them who called.
Okay. Yeah, I think it said, if we get the neighborhood watching going, it'd just be good to, let the public know that, so
Yep.
they don't have to be worried.
Yep.
Because, okay. The next thing is, and Ron Lesh brought this up, and I don't know if we want to do anything about it or not, but the Excel Street by Sprague's office in the flower shop, he said if people park on both sides, that there's not enough room for two-way traffic. And I don't know what the committee's thought is of that, on that, or what your thought is, Chief, or... He was hoping that, just one side would be designated for traffic.
If we do that, then we should make them handicap parking instead of the other, if you guys are gonna wanna reduce that.
One of the spaces in front of Sprague's
Yeah, one of
office is handicapped.
Yep. But if we're gonna remove them all and only use one side, then I think we should designate everything as handicap and right there on one side of the street. But as far as issues there, I mean,
You haven't ended?
we normally don't have issues there. I mean, you work there, you'd have better.
I see it every day, but
Yeah.
you just have to go slow and wait for people. I mean, it's just what it is, and I think that downtown parking is at such a minimum as it is that we shouldn't be getting rid of. It is tight right there, but it's tight in a lot of places in town.
I know I agree with Darrell on that. I mean, it's really tight there, and
Yeah.
parking's premium downtown. And, this time of year it's a little, well, not right at Christmas time, but, you move away, 2 weeks from Christmas, and that's gonna get easier, but then it'll pick, it's
Right.
ebbs and flows like the tide.
So I'm
As
getting
soon as
feeling
it
we-
snows,
Yeah.
the colors on the road don't make any difference, because people will just park wherever they're
Yeah.
gonna park.
That's right.
I'm getting the feeling that the committee would rather just leave it as is.
Yeah.
It's not causing any issues right now besides
It's working.
every once in a while.
People just need to, they need to slow down.
Pay attention.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the parking on both sides of the street. I won't lie, I've parked next to Love and Matters and run into Papa Bear's to
Right.
grab my pizza,
Yeah,
rather than circle 6 or 7 times hoping someone moves.
okay, well, let's just pass on that one then. And then Stan brought up the trench between right along the Pilot Building and the Wells Fargo parking lot. That can get kind of tricky. Do we want to ask Ron or someone to fill that in, or put a
Well, there probably should be a drainage pipe in
drainage
there.
pipe in there?
It's
I
not
walk by it
full.
every single day, and I'm still not sure I know what exactly you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So
Yeah,
maybe
it's
if
on the
we-
border
There's that little
between
grassy park right along.
Wells Fargo and either Loesch's, who owns the parking there behind the drugstore.
So is it the whole grass area that you're talking about right there, or is it
Yeah, it's
just on the road
it's
section?
about 2 feet wide and probably about 18 inches deep. And there's a section there about this wide, and there should be a culvert pipe in there or something. And when the snow is in there, if you cut it, because you can't see, you can fall through when it's covered up with snow on the corner there, and you won't like it, because if you got one of these little rice bombs, you'll probably bottom out, and you could damage something.
Isn't there a power box there and stuff?
Yeah.
There may
Well, that's
be.
up towards the street
Could we
side.
maybe get some pictures or
Yeah,
something?
can we put this on for the next,
meeting?
for the next
So we can
meeting and have
understand
some
what's going
pictures?
on.
Yeah, I want to take a good look at it.
Yeah, well, this way everybody on the committee can go by and see.
Yeah, I
what
want
Stan's
to
saying.
go,
Okay.
I'll probably walk it
So-
today.
At the very least, if there was one of those signposts there that said hole or whatever, but it, just to let you know where the edge of it was.
We could probably just put some of those concrete bulkheads, movable concrete bulkheads along the way too.
Well, that might work.
Yeah,
That'd probably fill in the whole thing if I.
But just those little,
You just put it
But I can tell you, I don't remember it was last year or the year before, but there was quite a bit of snow. Snow was piled up. And I was doing a right turn to go down toward the harbor master, and I broke through. I cut it too tight because I couldn't see where the edge was. And I went bang, and bottomed out on the front
well,
end.
if we can get some more information for next meeting,
Yeah,
that would be
I
great.
agree.
I'll put on next agenda if we can all, walk by between now and our next meeting. Okay. Okay, the next item is communications. Any, I don't believe we have any. Haven't seen anything. The item after that, at our last meeting, we talked about honoring some of the EMT volunteer firefighters by having a volunteer night. And we ended up with about 80 people showing up, and volunteers and community members, and we had about 30 businesses donate everything from beverages and food to door prizes.
Fantastic.
And I was kind of, I thought it was a good idea to honor the people that help us out like that. So, I was pretty happy with it, but I'm easy. So I don't know if we want to ever do that again, but I was kind of proud to do it for people.
I would really like
be
to see
part
it
of
done
Yeah,
again.
I agree.
I'd like to see advertised a little differently, because I think a lot of people thought it was just for the first responders,
Yeah.
not for everybody else too.
Yeah, because the hospital
But-
has tons of volunteers.
Yeah, okay. So maybe make it an annual thing? Would be, okay.
That'd be great.
Okay. Well, and here's a neighborhood watch. And I, like I said, I put one in front of my house and pass it down. So there, just took two nuts and bolts.
It's like the Spy versus Spy guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of looks like that cartoon character.
For McRuff.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah. Okay. Does anybody, for next meeting, we have the parking ordinance 11.56 that we're going to look at, talk about moving vehicles or how long they should be there. Moving the, cost of moving the sign to extend the school boundary on Wrangell Avenue, and the trench by the pilot. Any other things you'd like to look at for the next meeting?
Dixon, something about EMS fire director will have a policy for the sirens. Wonder if we can get an update on that. And possibly harbor security boat response that Tassilo had brought up. I don't know if we came to a resolution on that one, or we're all satisfied with whatever was said.
It's all, that's working phenomenal
Is
right
it?
now.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay,
don't have
so-
any issues with responses on that.
Okay, I'll cross that one off then. So the other addition, EMS fire director policy for sirens?
Just a follow-up on it,
Okay.
so it doesn't fall through for us.
Yeah, I was tried to get our meeting going in October like we had planned last time, and the borough staff was too busy, and then Sandy said she couldn't make it in anything in November, and then she passed on this one. So I'll ask her about it and ask her to attend the next one, which brings to the next idea. When would you like the follow-up meeting? None of this is, critical for,
I'll actually have the sign location and cost estimate by next meeting, and then I'll go through the parking.
When will we find out about the grant for the neighborhood watch?
before the end of January.
Okay. Well, let me we should have the meeting after we get the grant, so we can actually move on it.
You want to shoot in for a meeting in February?
Yeah.
Okay,
For me, it'd be a better time, the end of February,
okay.
and that's just because I'll go back
Any day of the week better?
any day, anytime, but yeah,
And end of February, what,
end of February, the first part of March, right there, we'll be back.
like, what end of February is? You're not sure?
I said, yeah, just, I think we'll probably come up around the 25th or 20th.
Okay. Well, how about if we go for the first week in March?
That'll work.
Is that okay with everybody?
I got to leave town for a couple times January and February, and right now I don't know when it's going to be.
Okay, so it'll probably work out well for you too then. Okay,
Just keep in contact as it gets closer.
right, okay. And I'll email you if there's any news, before then on the grant or the sign movement or whatever
Would you guys
else.
like me to email that to you guys as soon as I get the cost estimate? So you guys have that by,
Yeah, that'd be
everybody
great.
gets
I
it
think
as soon
that'd be
as
helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other items you want to discuss or?
I got something to bring up, just curiosity, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but not quite. That sign you just passed down, if we could put one of those posts with all the holes in them the DOT uses, and put that right there at the corner and put one of his neighborhood crime watch signs up, that would do just perfect right there.
Are you still talking about the Harbor Way?
Yeah.
Okay.
That.
If the sign was put up right there at the corner where the parking lot drops off down into that trench.
We can look at that next meeting, maybe.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
all go look at
Right.
that, so we can, before we say yes or no.
That sounds good.
And Chief, you got an ongoing thing down in the office downstairs with Carl, don't you? Where if you want to, Carl needs to know something, all you got to do is pick up the phone or have the dispatcher or somebody do it.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, Carl Hagerman, the head of Public Works. Right across from my place, that, I don't know if it's a mercury light or a vapor light or whatever those things are in the light, that thing's been cycling off and on for several weeks.
Yeah, the public can go online, I'll bring it to his attention, but you just put the location of it, and there's a work order that you can fill out online or on your phone, and,
Well, I'm pretty much a dinosaur with any of that stuff.
yeah, on stuff like that, if they just call into Power and Light, they'll normally get that fixed, but I'll let them know.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Move to adjourn? Okay.
Thank you for lunch, John.
Hey, no problem. And help yourself if you didn't get one.
That was-